Oh, man, that was a big one. This one's perfect for the 6th anniversary gift. Oh, hi. I didn't hear you come in. You've probably been wondering where I've been. Well, you see, I took a contract job with Scopely to create a few things for you, the players. As you can see, I just made the 6th anniversary gift. Oh, another one just came. Oh, look at that. I just created new raids, spotlight raids for you. Isn't that great? Oh. And a new raid team that I did with a bio movement. So we'll make it a skill team, even though it just got created via bio. Doesn't that make sense? Oh, wait, this is weird. You only have blank sheets of paper here. No Marvel Strike Force infographics or toilet paper, just regular blank sheets of paper. Oh well, I guess what I'll have to do. Would you look at that? I wiped my ass with this sheet of paper, and it became a Marvel Strike Force infographic. What, you don't believe me? Well, I'll show it to you. Just let me wash my hands, and I'll be right with you. Alright, I got the plunger in my head because we gotta push some shit out today. That's right, it's the return of Dogbert's Team Toilet Paper Infographic! Yes, I actually made one and I have done a little work to it. We have a new scoring system for T4s. You can give 0 shits, 1 shit, 2 shit, 3 shits, 4 shits, or 5 shits. The more shits you give, the more you want that T4. And of course, the opposite is true. The less shits you give, the less you want that T4. And today we're going to talk about the Spider Society, the skill team that isn't skill. Does that make sense? No, it's more like they just wanted to put out some spiders and say, look, it's a skill team, because God forbid we use our brains and come up with an actual skill team based on characters in Marvel Comics. No, we want more spiders. So, first up, we're going to talk about Spider-Gwen, aka Ghost Spider, a former raid character that we built up for the Web Warriors, if you did that, depending on how long you've been playing the game. So the ISO for her, my recommendation is Striker. We're going to want to be doing as much damage as we can with her, plus we want her as big as possible to make sure she is, we're trying to get her to be the one that gets called for assists, because she puts out blind with that passive, based off of her basic. So I don't think it comes to any surprise to you that her basic is a 5 shit T4. That's right, we're giving the 5 shits to this T4 because this is what allows her to actually blind people with that T4. You need that T4 in this character to make her work. Now, her special used to be a lot higher back when she was on the Web Warriors, but now we only give 3 shits about it. It's okay, not great. You don't really need it, but it's nice to have. More of a luxury, I would say. It no longer requires you to crit in order to apply the ability block. It just does that and gives you extra crit anyway. That's the other reason why we can go Striker with her now rather than Raider when we used to need crit for her. And now for her ultimate. This is, again, a 5 shit ultimate. This allows her to actually spread all the negative effects from the primary target to the secondary targets. The extra damage is just a nice bonus, to be honest with you. And moving on to her passive, that is again another 5 shit T4. We're giving all the shits to it. We want to get this T4. The reason being, it gives her 100% damage because her extra dodge chance. But the big thing is, in Rage, she's getting it's gaining an additional 25% damage. And if she has 3 or more Spider Society characters in raids, she gets 50% more damage. The reason why you want all this damage on her, again, make her more damaging. You gotta remember, she's gonna be pinging a lot whenever one of your characters gets hit. So you want her to do the maximum amount of damage. And this is her primary way of doing damage. So let's move on to the next character. And that one is Prozac Spider-Man, Peni Parker. Just what we want. Our characters in a bathrobe. Yep. And he's also Father of the Year, Because he should be arrested for child abuse because he's bringing his kid into every single fight. Isn't that great? Anyway, the ISO for him is going to be Skirmisher. You're going to see a lot of Skirmishers on this team because, well, they don't have that great of focus since we all have them at low stars unless you're a freaking whale, in which case it doesn't really matter what I say. You're going to do whatever you want. You're going to spend a shit ton of money and have these characters maxed. Alright, moving on to his T4s. And first up is the basic. We're only going to give 2 shits about this. Talk about a luxury pick. It could technically be argued to give you a little bit more survivability for the team, since it does increase it up to 2 members getting regens and evades and a little bit extra damage, but in reality this is a pretty bad T4. That's why we're only giving 2 shits about it if we even do it at all. Up next is his special, and this is one that we're going to give all the shits to, the 5 shits. And this is mainly because it adds the calling an ally with the least speed bar to attack the most injured enemy. Whenever you can get an assist like that, that's always a great thing to have. And you get a little bit of extra damage to the primary and secondary targets, which is also nice. As for the ultimate, that is again, we're giving all the shits to it. This is mostly because we get immunity for ourselves and all the Spider Society allies. We definitely want that. Disrupted for 2 turns is nice. It's only increasing it from 1 to 2 and 40% damage. The big thing here is getting that immunity. And finally, the passive. Again, we are giving all the shits to this. This is because on spawn and raids, he'll give safeguard, which we want. You combine that if you can get the ultimate off on the first turn, which you usually can, because you should be at full energy. This will give you immunity and keep you from getting debuffs on your team. And honestly, on top of this, if he has 3 or more spider allies, they can't gain defense down at any time. This is something new we're seeing where they can't gain a certain debuff, so this is pretty new to the team. Moving on. It's time for the turd of the team! The turd of the team, the one you don't really want to build but have to make the team work. In this case, we have a pretty well-polished turd, but he's still a turd. And that is Spider-Man Noir. Unfortunately, he is required to make the team work correctly in raids. Whether or not you can really use him outside of it, because he's pretty selfish in what he does. He only really helps out on spawn, and that's it. Other than that, he says pure damage. Doesn't do anything to give back to the team and anything else. He's just all in it for himself. And that's why he is the turd of the team. His ISO also is going to be Skirmisher. We don't want him eating up vulnerables. We want to leave those for like Spider and one of the next characters. Again, we're going to keep those. Got to keep that focus up. You know, we probably have him pretty big. As far as his basic, we're actually going to give 5 shits about this if we're going to use it. The big thing is you also get a little bit of a bonus, and then it works in Crucible as well, giving you an evade. And in raids, it gives you an evade and a regeneration rather than a 50% chance, which is what you have normally. So that's actually kind of nice, and if you use them in Crucible, that helps out. His special is also one we want to give all the shits about, because this gives him, the big thing about it is giving him 30% speed more. That's always very, very valuable. That increases it from 20. So you're actually getting up 10% there. He'll also clear taunt, and he'll get 50% piercing damage, which is quite nice for this character, since all he does is damage. His ultimate, we're only going to give 4 shits to. It is more of a luxury. It is a nice one because it does give 50% piercing to primary and secondary targets, which is the adjacent targets. So that can be quite a bit of damage. It also gives 3 bleed to the primary target and applies a heal block, which can be quite useful. And his passive, which is really the only reason why he stays on this team, is because of this passive. What this does, it gives you the, on spawn and raids, you get 25% speed bar to the entire team. That is quite needed. Or it fills his speed bar by 25%, making him very quick. I mean, sorry. The big thing for the team I meant is for 50% damage for self and all spider allies. Just increasing that team's damage by 50% is huge. That is why this passive gets the 5 shits that we give about it. Sorry about my screw up. I haven't done this in a while. Up next, we have Spider-Man India. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He is also going to be a skirmisher as well. Again, we need to get that focus up, low stars, as we take a look at him. And his basic. This is going to be a 1 shit basic, almost could be a 0 shit basic. That's how bad it is. It's this 30% damage to secondary targets. And a weird thing where he gets 15% against targets who are slow. Very weird, but not very valuable T4. That's why we're only giving 1 shit about it. You might want to give 0 shits about it, to be honest with you. As for his special, we're going to give 3 shits about this one. It's not the greatest. It's only 60% damage to primary and secondary attacks, which is good. And then also clears 1 positive effect on secondary targets, which I don't know how valuable that's really going to be. You can do the same thing with skirmisher. So if you have him as a skirmisher and you hit the vulnerables, you're actually going to be clearing more than that on the primary target. Plus, you're going to get some off the secondary targets. It's an okay T4, not great. Definitely not the highest priority though. Up next is his ultimate, which we're going to give 4 shits about. It does clear slow from self and all allies, which is nice. It has the weird thing again where if it gets you get 50% more damage against targets with slow and 40% more damage to the primary and secondary targets. It doesn't need to be here, but it gets 4 shits just because it is a nicer T4. So let's keep that in mind. Moving on, we have his passive, which again, we're giving all the shits to. This is 5 shits. Which is weird about this one is if he has speed up, then enemies can't gain speed up. That is actually quite huge. We don't want to speed up our enemies, that's for sure. That only happens in raids. And the other thing that's going to happen in raids, he's going to give the team 40% crit, 20% crit damage, and 100% focus, which is badly needed, and why this T4 is so important. Moving on, we have our last one, Peni Parker, who should probably just be a tech character or something. I don't know. Her ISO is going to be Striker. And the reason for this is if you look at her basic, let me bring it up, it puts out energy. It generates 1 ability energy for herself and all the entire team. Doesn't need a T4 for that, but as far as her basics go, we're going to give 3 shits about hers. Because it does get 100% damage to the primary target, single target, and it does clear all the positive effects on that primary target, again, single target, though. That's why it's only 3 shits. As for her special, we're giving all the shits to that, because this actually allows it to land a stun. That alone makes this one want all the shits, because of how valuable stuns are. Remember, mind it gives 80% damage to all attacks. That's just icing on the cake. As for her ultimate, that is, again, we're giving all of the shits to. 100% damage to all enemies would be great. The fact that she raids, then she's going to give trauma to all enemies and give safeguard for 2 turns to all Spider Society allies. These are things we definitely want and need. This makes this a great T4 and necessary for us to give all the shits about it. And finally, the passive, again, we are giving all our shits about it. This one's a little bit weird. On spawn and raid, she's going to generate 5 ability energy for herself and all Spider Society allies. Incredibly valuable. But the other thing that makes it even more valuable is at the end of her turn, she's going to feel speed bar by 5% for herself and all Spider Society allies, which is really interesting since she's speeding up the team a little bit more every time she takes a turn. So definitely want to speed up on her all the time and everything. It's a very interesting kit. Very interesting the way they did this. And they made essentially what should be like a bio or maybe a tech character or something team into a skill team because, well, they just wanted to have spiders. So if there is a next time, everybody, I'll see you then.